changed it. Because I remember, I used to be when I was younger. I mean, I hate to say it, I used to love eating it a lot, and and I remember it. I don't remember it the way it is now. And I one time I was buying some for one of my kids here, and I'm going, wow, they changed it because I didn't remember it, like that.
You're not the first. You're not the first to think that. I've heard that said about this Fruit Loops logo before too. But no, it's always been that. How about Febreze? Febreze, the stuff that keeps my car smelling nice. People remember that being spelled Febreze, Febreze, Breeze. There actually is no double E in it. It's Febreze. It's Febreze. It looks like Febreze, but that's Febreze. That's how they actually spell it in this timeline.
Well, man, if we did like swap or switch or something happened and merged into a different timeline, or got bumped or what have you, I mean, it could be not just like what we see on TV or what we read. It could actually be a lot of things that affect our day-to-day life that has totally changed, and it would probably change the whole outlook of what everything is, what's happening.
Well, some are saying it's actually affected our anatomy, too, in this timeline. In this timeline, our skeletons look different. People are talking about the ribs or the eye sockets. How historically our eye sockets are hollow. But now in this timeline, there's actually backs to them, this skull behind the eyeballs in this timeline. Whereas people remember it historically, it was just hollow holes.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
So they're saying it's affected our... and again, I don't really remember. I remember, like, that's how I used to draw it when I was a kid. You have to do a skull with the hollow-out eyes. But I didn't study, anatomy that closely, so I can't really say yay or nay to that one. And the same thing with some of these things, like Febreze. So it would make sense for that to be spelt like breeze. So my mind tells me that's how it was always spelt, when maybe it was always spelt Febreze. But I just interpreted it as Febreze,
Our
Same thing with, like, Cap Punch.
Yeah, our brain. Yeah, because the way they pronounce it in their commercials, maybe our brains kind of interpret that that's the way it should be spelled in our brain. So that's
that's the way it is spelled. We tell ourselves, or Jiffy. So we've been saying Jiffy peanut butter, and it's actually Jif. But maybe, just maybe, we were crossing that with Skippy peanut butter, giving us Jiffy.
Yeah, that's
you know what I'm saying? So because I think back to Annette Funicello, and I do remember her saying Jif. I remember saying Jif. It was always, cute how she would say that. But I also remember Jiffy peanut butter. But I think, and I could be wrong, maybe I was just combining Skippy and Jiffy, because that would make sense too. And again, that's how our brains work. We just, it wants to resolve stuff. It wants to make these connections that sometimes aren't there, but it's what helps us sleep at night.
Yeah. It puts the pieces together that,
it does. And this kind of thing's been around forever too. Because remember, like, they used to write books on famous movie lines that were screwed up, or people remember wrong, like, frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a damn. Remember that? We always used to say that on Gone with the Wind. But he never actually said that. Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. And we know that. That was a big misconception. We used to talk about it. We never called it the Mandela effect. We didn't overanalyze it like that. And these type of things, as magicians depend on sleight of hand, and you not paying attention to stuff. That's what makes the magic trick work, is because we do leave out stuff sometimes. We're not noticing everything we think we're noticing, or if we're focusing too much, we're missing what the other hand's doing. And so, we know our brains do this also. So, again, I don't know what to believe or what not to believe at this point, but I cannot play the devil's advocate in this regard, I got to be skeptical.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder too, like I said, maybe like time travelers, and mathematically and in science, it is possible to go forward in time. Of course, the scientists are saying you can't go backwards, but I disagree with that too. I really think that there's no such thing as time. So, time is what we have placed it because the sun.
Define it as.
Yeah, the sun. I just don't see that time is really anything. It's just what we have placed in our head. This is time, and
abstract concept.
Yeah, I do think that. I think eventually, and I got a funny feeling, and now I could be totally wrong, but there's a lawyer in Seattle, Washington, that claims, and I when I start talking more, you'll probably realize who he is. He claims that back in the 60s, he got, as a young kid, recruited with the CIA to do, space transportation to like Mars and stuff like that. And he claims that we have a really advanced space agency, that everything that you see with our jets, the military has, is just basically for show for the public. And that he has been to Mars numerous times, that they use time travel and all this stuff, and that one of the times he was on he saw a whole bunch of Martians in uniform in a great big open pit, and he claims one of our former presidents actually was in it too.
Right, Obama. I remember this.
Yeah.
What's his dude though? Yeah, Andrew. What's his name? Basago.
Yeah, something like that. But here he is, a lawyer, and a respected person, and he's, claiming all this stuff, and it makes you wonder, is it possible? Maybe he went into a different timeline or something, or something, I just...
Project Pegasus. I totally know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, that was an interesting story, too. Like, he was a super soldier, wasn't it? They were training him to be a super soldier?
Right. Yeah, up to a certain age, and then after a certain age, he was too old.
I thought it was a British guy, too, was telling a similar story, who actually just died under mysterious circumstances not too long ago. Maybe it was a year or two ago. But there was a British guy, too. He was a big conspiracy theorist that was supposedly involved in the same program. But I think I'm confusing him for this guy. But I've definitely heard of Project Pegasus, which is bizarre.
Yeah, and it just makes you wonder, if there is different timelines and, and time travel and,
or people are experiencing time at different rates and whatnot. Or, have you seen the pictures online of, like, supposed time travelers? Oh,
yeah. Yeah, we did a show on it back a couple months ago, and I did a lot of research on it.
Oh, did you really?
Oh, yeah.
The one that always gets me is that guy with the T-shirt that looks like he's wearing a printed T-shirt and has, like, a camera in his hand. He's wearing sunglasses. You know the one I'm talking about? I think there's, like, a bridge being erected or something like that, but this is back in the 1920s. But he looks like he's totally out of the 90s or even the 2000s. But that one it's good.
There was one in Hollywood where they were going, I guess, walking past the Charlie Chaplin Theater. Or
the old lady.
Yeah, the old lady, but there was a guy, too.
Cell phone.
There was a guy, too, that was talking on a cell phone. Or maybe not a cell phone. They keep saying cell phone. Well, I don't say they were cell phones. I think, if anything, they were some type of device, like the old Star Trek shows, where they could, beam me up, Scotty, type of thing.
Why would they be in a show? That's what I don't understand. It's like, why would they, that's really screwing with history.
Yeah, but I looked at some of those pictures, and I used to be in the photography business for many, many years.
Right.
And I was one of the very first people to actually get Photoshop in my hands, along with one of the first very few people that actually got a digital camera before they were even released to the public to play with. And I mean, I know, of course, I haven't played around photography for years, but in Photoshop, I know what you can do and what you can't do. I know what to look for in a fake picture. Because there's... Oh, sure.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that they're fake. I think they are doing something. They are holding something to their head. But we tend to look at things from our own historical context rather than what was going on. Well, what else could they have been doing at that time? And I think that old lady that's holding something to her head, I think she's actually holding a hearing horn.
Yeah,
that the hard of hearing used to use,
Yeah, but then I've seen pictures, too, where the clothing was, way far advanced.
That's weird, yeah.
Yeah, and then I looked at some of those pictures, and I could tell the picture hasn't been manipulated. Because, again, I was looking at the contrast. One thing back when a lot of these pictures were coming out, digital had a problem with, like, if you took a picture of a house and there was a tree next to it, the tree didn't look quite right. It had a problem with contrasting, and the layering effect. So when I looked at these pictures, I could tell right away, hey, somebody's implanted this picture, or they have manipulated or added to it. But there's been some of these pictures that I have looked at and I can't see it. I see that it is not fake. The same with when I looked at some of these pictures, like with UFOs. I'll look at it and I studied it and I go, hey, this has not been manipulated, especially in its time frame, because back then, to manipulate, back before computers and before digital imaging, you had to take negatives and sandwich them together and then maybe make another negative and all that stuff. But you could tell. I mean, if you look at like all these old ghost pictures that a lot of the people who which I'm in the paranormal, but I look at some of them and you can clearly think. Now, look, in 1910, 1890, somebody has a picture, right? And they show a ghost behind the person, right? And they say, oh, I got a picture of a ghost. All they actually did was sandwich a underexposed negative behind, another negative and made a print. Dead giveaway, you know. Sure. But back then, the people look at it, they weren't
blown away.
they would think, oh my God, that's a ghost. Hey.
No, it's true. It is definitely true. Yeah, there are a lot of, some of these photos are amazing. Like that time traveler one, the guy with the printed shirt and the sunglasses and possibly holding a camera. That one really, blows my mind. But some of these other ones, like, I can't give credence to some of these because they're just not explained enough for me. So I don't want it to take away from one that really does boggle my mind.
Yeah.
And, there's some with, like, people, it looks like they're holding up cell phones, taking a picture, like, there's just some crazy stuff.
Oh yeah,
but then I see a bunch of people on cell phones. They say, but it could easily be a walkie-talkie or whatnot. We just think it's a cell phone from where we are in history right now.
Now I'm older than you. Okay, I'm going to go back. Walkie-talkies. Okay, even going into the '60s, they were big.
Oh yeah.
Now.
Oh yeah, the atomic age.
Yeah, and now let's drop into the '50s. Now you're talking something about a 1.5 feet big. Okay, 1.5 feet long by maybe about 5 inches wide. That was a walkie-talkie.
Right.
So, some of like those pictures, again, everybody says cell phone. They're holding a cell phone. No, they weren't holding the cell phone. If anything, okay, if it wasn't some makeup thing or something else, okay, it could have been something.
Transistor radio.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, or it could be.
You had either that one earpiece, or you would hold it to you catch the game on the transistor. You hold it up to your ear, so you weren't bothering anyone else.
Well, I really feel that
pretty small.
I really think, okay, if people come back and say, "Oh, there's no such thing as time travel," okay, when science says there's a possibility and a very strong possibility, and actually they actually been doing it, but it's in such short burst, okay, that eventually, if they, I'm saying that every time somebody would go jump in time, I think it could actually probably change our whole timeline of this planet. It could.
Yeah, it would have to. It would have to. Just the slightest change would change stuff dramatically. People are saying that time is actually sped up. Remember when we were younger, we used to count seconds with Mississippi, like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, or 1,000, 2 1,000. But nowadays, parents are noticing as they teach their children this way of counting seconds, that the time is actually faster. Like Mississippi seems too long. Like if you look at your second hand on your watch and try it, it does actually seem like Mississippi is longer than an actual second.
Well,
like time has spun up.
Well, how old are you, roughly?
42.
Okay, you're a young kid. Okay, I just turned 60. In January, I hit 66, okay?
January is when I hit 42.
What I, always couldn't figure out, like, remember when you were in grade school, how long the day was?
Oh my God, it was so long. Just being in school, like, waiting for graduation to even happen was like, so long, to wait.
And now, the older I get, okay, to me, it seems like time is speeding up, okay? And it's
Yeah.
really eerie because I remember a day seemed like it lasted forever, okay? I mean, when I was
Yep.
at your age and younger,